Welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to look at Khalakhil, Syria. Interesting scenario. Oh, it's already happened. Waiting for it to appear. So essentially, pretty sort of standard really in its setup, but the thing that's sort of interesting about this in two regards is that I've taken a different approach to how I've put it together. I think I've sort of written about that in the write-up. So basically it's Hayat Tahrir, al-Sham, advancing on all these positions. I've taken a slightly different approach by presenting this to presenting this by assuming that the frontline village is occupied by Syrian military police, which I imagine is more the case as opposed to main frontline units being left behind. This should make it easier to accomplish for the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham units, but when the main forces arrive later in the game, they probably won't be able to hold it. I just sort of read it there, but basically, as said on the label. But I think one of the things that is sort of evident in the whole sort of thing, the whole sort of campaign, so to speak, or war, is that they don't have time to leave all their armoured units and their mechanised units, guarding each of the little villages. And so this is a sort of rather nondescript part of the line between the Syrian forces and these militants in whatever sort of province it is. And ordinarily I'd put, say, infantry units, because that sort of makes sense, but they're pretty tough. And so what I've done here, I've sort of elected for the police units, which are slightly different. They can't entrench, for one thing. They get the bonuses for being in the town or the village. But what is also different is there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of these Hayat Tahrir al-Sham units. So quite often, if I do this ordinarily, I might have a very extensive, very thick body of Syrian units down here and lots of militants along here, and it would be quite complex. And I'm not saying that one is right and one is wrong. This is just another way of looking at it. But I think to another extent, what you've got here are gaps. I mean, this is an objective, but there's not actually anyone protecting it. And similarly over here. Now these are all the villages that they take. So what you've got is a situation where you could sort of say, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Well, obviously I could pair that one up there, pair that, but I could go in there and take that village, or I could go like that, or I could go like that, whichever way around I want to go. I could go like this and then down there, for example, like this and then across there, or the other way around. So essentially it leads you to sort of consider quite a few varied options. And now, I haven't really sort of thought about it, and I don't want to play too much of the game, because as with the last one I'm a bit busy, but I'm going to sort of have a little bit of a crack at it, because I sort of want to get the video done. I've got loads of pending ones to do, and so just not enough time to do everything really, but I'm going to have a little blast at this. But hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about. So essentially, obviously we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of blocks of units. Now these two have 2 in them, two units, whereas these are just ones. But if you look at it, it sort of roughly matches up, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 police units there and 4 militant units there, and here we've got 1, 2, 3, and we've got 1, 2, 3, so they exactly match up. The difference being that the insurgents can get that 5 times bonus, because the police are such small units and the police can't really fight back, but the police are in relatively good defensive positions. So interesting to see how easy it will be. And I think I will get the drawing tool out because I just love using it so much. I think we're going to go like that, like that, like that, like that, or something like these. I mean, basically, now this is going to be a toughie, because I don't think I can get from there to there in one go. So I'm just going to go this way and then up there. So these ones are going to vary slightly. So let's start off with this lot. One thing to bear in mind also is that there's quite a lot of steps required to take these villages out, and it's going to take a while, and I think that will be a limiting factor as well. Moving there so I can get the surround. I shouldn't really need it. Let's see what this comes out to. This will be a good indicator of how the rest of the battles will go. Should be about 10 versus 2. Oh no, that's because I keep forgetting that the village is not doubled or anything. I think it's just 10% extra on the villages. So, and here we had we had 10, but we had a surround that gave us an extra 10%, so that's 11 versus 1 in the village times 10%, 1.1. So obviously a very clear 10 to 1 odds there, which were 7 to 1 odds. So we've got a DR on that, which is quite surprising. We can't move into the village. I wonder why not. Oh well. So 2 units versus one of these can get the required odds. But here, as I said, yeah, it's just over 1. It's like 1.2 to move through the desert, so that's why he's only got 1. He can't move. He can't do that last bit. So this should be, well, about 3 or 4 to 1. Yep, and a DR. So we're not doing very well, really. When I say that, I mean I would have expected and hoping for some eliminations, really. Another DR. And we've not been able to move into any of the villages, but we forced the police out of every village that we've approached. Maybe we'll be able to... Come on. DR. Okay, we can get into that village. Okay. And that one. Now, no, I'm not going into the sort of obstacle hexes because that would end my turn, so I'm being conscious to avoid them. Ha! The first DE. I mean, we could have been a bit luckier and had that throughout. So we've been a bit unlucky because all these units still exist, which means they'll be able to sort of move back in, basically, in some of the places. Okay, so that's that. The next, the Syrian Arab Army turn. Okay. Well, they've been ousted from most places. I can either move there or there, and I don't think I can move in 2 places. But I'm going to move there. Oh, so I've got 2 more movement. The reason I did that, well, A, this would have put me in a zone of control, my turn would have ended. But also, if I moved there, if he wanted to attack me, it would have had to come out of the village. I don't think there's any point in attacking these units. We could get a 2-to-1 technically, but then it would only be a 1-to-1. But we've got a DR on that with some depressions. They're both depressions 2, so we'd only be able to get a 1-to-1. But I can slap those in there, put that in there. Could possibly attack with that, but I don't think so. Why don't you move into... Oh, nice. That's what my... Oh, my brain is gone on holiday, I think. There. So, we've now managed to re-enter all of the villages, well, basically most of the villages. This one was empty, but we've moved into, or moved towards this one, which was empty. So we've lost 3 villages so far. So, now this is where it comes down to sort of how much they want to actually take these places, because they're going to have to sit in there for quite a while to do that. This has got 2 units in it. We're suddenly quite stumped against that. We could have maybe possibly attacked that. It's still really only been a 1-to-1. And I don't think the police really want to be taking those sorts of odds, but here they've got quite good odds really. The question is, I think I'll do it. I know what I'm going to do. Let's get that 7-to-1 and hopefully get a DE. Another DR. Well, I did it deliberately that way because I can sort of move him into there and him into there. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move him to there and then to there. They're going to attack. Because this one hasn't moved, if he wins, he's going to then come back here and attack that unit. Or do I want to do it that way? No, I'm going to do it as I said. I don't know why, I'm not so clear as to what I said really. I mean, I know what I said, but there could be other ways of doing this. But I'm going to go there and there, and I attack with both of these. I'm not going to opt for my 10% surround bonus, but that's a 5-to-1, forcing them out. Now this other unit, he's got 4, and the other unit's got 2.8. Now the one that's got 4, he's going to move back this way, and he's going to attack. Oh, look at that, 5-to-1 and a DE. Now he should have enough to move in. 1.4. Look at that. Do you see how I did that? You have to, you have to rewind the video and watch that in slow motion. But that was kind of well thought out, I think. Okay. So I've won there, nothing more to do here, done that. Now I could move out of here and try and take that, but if I move out of there, he can then just move back into there. So this is the only one where we've not really contested anything. So we'll end that turn, and we should see most things now starting to be converted. Oh, we don't have any control over that one yet either. So now the police, what do they want to do? Well, he'll be worth 1.1, and it's going to be a one-to-one attack. Do they want to do that? What I might do is split these up, going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 into there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Try and get into there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not going to be easy, but I don't feel strong enough to start attacking. If I move there, I'll probably be in the zone of control as well. We've lost this one as well, haven't we? Can't go through there, so okay. Okay, it's an interesting situation because the Hayat Tahrir units don't have enough to deal with the two villages that they don't control. And it's going to take a long time, unless they start doubling up, before they can actually take control of anything. They just don't have enough units, and I quite like it when they don't have enough units. It reminds me of that one of those earlier games a couple of years ago now, that where there just weren't enough units. There were more objective hexes than there were units, and it makes for a different sort of strategy, because you know if you move here and start taking control of this village, the opponent can go and deal with that one, as we've got there. But we can't deal with both of these villages. We don't have enough units, unless we concert ourselves to destroying whatever police units we can, because we know that the Syrian army reinforcements are going to come on here soon, and once they do, it's game over. So there's not really much more to do in that impasse, other than acknowledge the impasse, so to speak, in the sense that, well, we've got 9 turns, we've got to sit in there, and then we'll get it. We could half that by moving into there. But the sum total, you know, we're firing on 4 cylinders. We've got everything that we can converting, but we've got distributed across numerous villages. And the police really can't do much against them, so we'll leave it at that. They're going to try and reinforce there. That's that. And that's that. Well, that's it for another sort of 7 turns. Let's see how this works. So they're basically going around and presumably killing all the suspected collaborators, putting up their flags, and doing all the other things that entail taking over a village, shooting the goats, the goats that are traitors to their militant cause, that is. What I'm going to do here, no, I'm not going to do that. I was going to move him there, but there they are, the dreaded mechanised units that I knew would come on. We've got 3 more turns, but it doesn't look as though the al-Sham units are going to do it. What could have done was target these ones, capture them quickly, and then joined up in mass. I'm not talking about the religious sort. Okay. Well, they're all dug in, and in a bit they'll probably be entrenched, because if that's anything to go by. So we're just going to leave them there. Yep, now they're entrenched, so they're doubled up now because they're entrenched. So they're doubled up to 2 times 10% because they're in a village, which is 2.2. So they're not worth nothing at all. And they've got 2 more turns before they can start to take some of these villages. And here comes some more units. Now, I think we're going to follow up along this road because it's the fastest way across. Okay, we want to take, if he's worth 2.2, as I suspect he is, that would be 3 to 1. Let's assume that the mechanised effect will cancel out the point 2, so to speak. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1. Do I want to get this in there to get it up to 6 to 1? Because they'll only retreat. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. He took the wrong turning. Well, it always makes me laugh when that happens. Okay, so we've got an attack going in here. It's got to be like a 7 to 1, isn't it? 6 to 1. 7 to 1 with surrounds. It was pretty tight. Okay, so we can now go back in there and replace all the school books with proper Syrian school books. Let's see if we can continue to push these units back. 2 depressions on that. Yep, so they should be depressed at 4 now, so they've been well and truly sort of pounded out of there. And we should be able to recover that quite quickly. Okay. Well, this is where it gets interesting. Now, they've stayed in there and got it back down to -1. One more turn and they'll be okay there. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Now this might be a 6-1, 5-1, DE, and we got them though. We got a DE and they were eliminated. So, double good. Okay, so they've now recovered that village. They're going to probably recover that village next turn. This village has fallen. That's because we had 2 units in there. But the thing is, the fact they've fallen is irrelevant now, because we don't have the luxury of being able to move out and do something else, because we're going to have the Syrian army breathing down our back now. I don't think I'm going to do much more, because I think it's pretty clear that the Syrian army is just going to sort of go around and take the rest of these places out. Didn't say that actually happened, but I've sort of assumed that would happen. I think the principle in play here is the fact that, you know, a lot of these places along the front lines are just protected by some earthworks, like here, you know, broken up roads, etc., barbed wire, concrete blocks, and a sort of guarded by military police units. I don't want to say military police in the sort of military police sense, like they're MPs. They're just police with AK-47s, you know, geared up for war, so to speak, for a little sort of civil protection, so civil defence or whatever, which makes them a slightly easier target for these militants in the way that they work. But the militants can't really hold out against the concerted efforts of the army, which we've got here. And it's not a particularly hefty army, it's just a few motorised units and some mechanised units. You know, it's not as though they've even got tanks or artillery or aircraft, air support. It's just a case of sort of whacking moles, just going around and just hoping that they don't have the continued and future resources to continue the sort of frontline attrition that this sort of represents. I mean, other things that are sort of missing to some extent in this scenario are the remnant front lines, because you would have thought, well, what's to stop the Syrian army from going down here? Well, the thing is, there probably are units in these locations. You know, these were just the forward active lines, because if we'd had units there, you would have used them. And this is one of the things we've got to assume, that, you know, the Syrian army are not going to go any further forward than their objectives. etc., etc. These were just the units that were in play. I think it's quite interesting, but I'm not going to go through and take it to the end because I'm a bit tired. But I think you sort of get the point now. They did manage to take one village. I mean, historically they took them all. So really, what I should do is maybe give the Hayat Tahrir a few more units, or make the objective markers slightly less tough. I mean, 10 points is quite a lot. So if I put them in there really at 3, that would give them the opportunity to at least take them all. So I think I might do that. But other than that, it gives you a sort of a fairly interesting sense of, you know, how these marginalised front lines work, as opposed to sort of, you know, the massive pushes, the front lines, you know, where the operations are taking place, etc., etc. So anyway, you know, if you want to play that, you can sign up and play it. Also play against your pals if they've also signed up, multiplayer, online, etc., etc. And I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.